Hi everyone. So welcome to the world mapping series whereby we will be covering the important location, physical features, resources and all the other important aspects which is related to all the important continents and countries. So today we are going to start with North America as a first landmass. If we go to the relevance of this topic for the UPSC examinations, so in prelims directly and in mains also this topic is important. Why? In prelims we see that every year we get around 2 to 3 questions which are from world maps. Sometimes the question are from those regions which were in news because of the conflict or some going ongoing aspect which becomes the part of international relations, and sometimes the topics which come in prelims are also from the world map related to the physical features which are present in the different areas of the world. For example, if you remember the question asked in last year, it was in relation to the match the column, and a lot of few mountain ranges were given, and then the type and the location was given. For example, Vosges was asked, Alps has been asked, Rockies has been asked, Appalachians has been asked, okay, in previous years and different questions. So that is why we have taken up this important series. Now, this topic is not only important from the factual perspective. We need to understand that when we are preparing geography, even for the GS, the maps are very important because these maps give us the examples which are to be written while writing the mains answer. Example, for example, let's say you are writing an answer on plate tectonics and you are writing about the formation of the young folded mountains because of the convergence of two plates. So there you have to mention the name of some young fold mountains, right? So there has to be a name, and that has to be supported by the convergence of which two type of plates. Similarly, if you are writing about some active volcanoes, so it is always advisable that in geography's answers you write the exact examples, the names of the places. As I have said this multiple times in the classes also, that geography is just the study, it is just a spatial analysis. So it is a study of a space. Whenever you are writing geography answers, so there has to be the element of space in it. Fine. So in today's lecture and in this throughout this entire world mapping series, we will not be just covering the factual details, we will also try to cover the conceptual part related to these factual details. For example, if we are writing about Rocky Mountains and we are seeing its presence in North America, so we need to go deeper into it, so that we get the analysis understanding how Rocky Mountains are formed. If we are writing Appalachian Mountains, what is the importance of Appalachian Mountains and plateaus? What do we mean by Canadian Shield? What are the resources which we get when we talk about this the North America? Okay, so that is why we just not need to cover this from the perspective of physical features. We need to do important countries, physical features, resources, etc. So all the things which are relevant for UPSC examination will be done in this. Okay, and beyond this, I don't think that there would be anything which you need to do except this thing. Okay, yes, there can be few additional examples which I might miss in the classes. Then that's a different thing. Obviously, then you can do it if it comes in front of your eyes, maybe while reading NCRT or while reading some newspaper. That is fine. But broadly, all the important things will be covered in these sessions, in these series. Let us start with North America. So we all know that North America is one of the major continents when it comes to the world. The formation of the present day oceans and continents is attributed to the plate tectonics theory. Earlier it was a continental drift theory, then it was a seafloor spreading theory, and then finally, as it stands today, the plate tectonics theory is the most appropriate one to explain the present day location of oceans and continents, right? Because as the outcome of that plate tectonics theory, a lot of continents were formed, which today we see like North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, like all these continents we see today. So North America is one of the continent. When we see this North America, so first of all, we need to understand that which all countries are present in this North America. Primarily, on the basis of size, there are three most dominant countries, and that also two most dominant countries. One is Canada and one is US. Along with it, one is Mexico. okay, also pronounced as Mexico. So if we see this North America, first of all, we need to understand that roughly this is the section where you have Alaska, and this Alaska is basically the part of United States, right? Roughly this is the line which divides Canada and US. So here we have Canada, and here we have United States of America. Fine. Then if I further divide this North America roughly like this, in this fashion. So here we have Mexico. The important fact, that is which line divides Canada and United States of America. So this line is basically 49-degree parallel. 49-degree parallel divides Canada as well as US. Parallel denotes what? Latitude. So 49-degree north latitude divides Canada and United States of America. Now, when you are coming to this portion is normally known as the Central American portion. This is North America, Central America, and then starts the South America. So South America continent we will be doing in the next lecture. In this portion, that is Central America, there are several small countries. I guess you might have heard about those countries as well. For example, we have first country, we have Belize. Okay. Then the next country, we have Guatemala. Then Belize, Guatemala. After that, we have countries like Honduras and Nicaragua. So here is Honduras. Then we have Nicaragua. Here we have Costa Rica. Fine. Then here we have very important location, that is Panama City. Here we also have Gulf of Panama and Panama Strait, which are very famous. You might be knowing this also. When we move into the Atlantic Ocean, okay, because the western part of North America is the Pacific Ocean and the eastern part of North America is Atlantic Ocean. So when we move into the Atlantic Ocean, which is the important region? So here we have some important locations, like some important islands, like one, we have Cuba, then we have Haiti, then we have Puerto Rico and Dominion Republic. So here we have Dominion Republic, then here we have Puerto Rico, and here we have another important area, that is Jamaica. All these islands together are known as West Indies. This entire region, all these small countries, is known as West Indies. So West Indies is not any one specific political country. It is basically the group of these islands. Is it clear? This is a rough political division of North America. Now we will start with the physical features of North America. First, we will start with the important mountain ranges and plateaus. So again, we will start from this Alaska portion. As the name goes, this area has one of the important mountain ranges, and this range is known by the name of Alaska Range. Fine. Similarly, in this portion of Alaska, we have another important mountain range which is named as Brooks Range. Now, what is so important about Brooks Range? The Brooks Range has a peak here, and that peak is named as, any idea? This is the highest peak of North America. So can you guess the name of this peak? This is Mount McKinley. Fine. and this is basically the highest peak of North America. Highest peak of North America. This is Mount McKinley. Next, we will move from north towards south. Here we have another important mountain range, and this mountain range is named as Mackenzie. So these are basically the Mackenzie Mountains. Fine. But the most important mountain range of North America is here. So it starts like this and it goes up to like this. And this is one of the longest mountain ranges of the world as well. I guess you might have guessed the name also. These mountain ranges are named as Rocky Mountains. Fine. These are the Rocky Mountains and hence their name Rockies. Similarly, when you will be studying South America, so on the western section of South America, there is another mountain range of similar length, that is Andes. Okay, and it is longer. So Andes Mountains in South America and Rockies Mountains in North America. Now, what is so famous about these Rocky Mountains? So basically, these Rocky Mountains are the example of young folded mountains. What do we mean by young folded mountains? So here lies the concept. As the name is telling you that they are young mountains, so that means they are not old mountains. Now the young or the old has to do with geological time scale. It has nothing to do with the age of an average human. Okay, if we are saying that they are young mountains, it doesn't mean that these mountains were formed just 20, 30, 50, 100 years back. No. So it is always with respect to the geological time scale. The second letter F, that is a fold mountain. What do we mean by fold mountain? So we need to understand this concept. If you people have read about the plate tectonic theories, according to that theory, there are 7 major plates. Okay, what are plates? Plates are basically the lithospheric slabs which move over asthenosphere. Here we have two important plates. One is a North American plate and second is a Pacific plate. When we analyze the movement of the Pacific plate and North American plate, we see that there is a continuous convergence which is going on at the margin of the North America, that is at the coast of North America. Fine. So here we are having convergence. That means the Pacific plate is moving towards North America, and hence this North American plate, which is a continental plate, and Pacific plate, which is an oceanic plate, they both are converging. Whenever two plates converge, and one of them being oceanic plate and one of them being continental plate, one plate will subduct. If I have to draw the diagram, so it will be something like this. So let's say this is the oceanic plate, this is a continental plate. In this case we have North America, here we have Pacific plate. This is the direction of the motion, so this plate will subduct. Okay, and this plate will rise, and that is why on this convergence zone where these two plates were converging, you have the folding of the sediments, which in turn lead to the formation of the mountains. Hence the word is young folded mountains. So whenever two plates will converge, so the lighter plate, the sediments between them will crumble and fold, and the lighter plate will try to go up, which will lead to the formation of mountains. So these Rockies are young folded mountains, which is formed because of the convergence of Pacific and North American plate. Now Pacific plate made up of basalt, being heavier in nature, it undergoes subduction. So hence it moves into the earth's surface. And North American plate, because it is a continental plate, which is granitic plate, which is lighter than the basalt. Okay, so hence this plate will not go into, it is not a denser plate. This continental plate will rise up, will lead to the formation of young folded mountains. Is it fine? This is one thing. Second important thing in the same location is, if you will look at the physical map in your atlas, be ready with your atlas and keep on seeing these locations along with this discussion. When you will see closely the North American map, you will see that in this section, the coastline is highly indented and highly broken. It is very irregular. Also, you will see a very narrow width of light blue color towards the west of this coast. It tells us that throughout this entire western coast of North America, if I have to mark it somewhat, so starting from here and going till here, this entire western coast of North America is basically the example of narrow continental shelf. Now, this is also an important concept. Wherever the land and water meets, in this case, that is continent and ocean are meeting. Obviously, we also understand by our observation and experience that the land does not end abruptly in the ocean. So there is a small slight portion which is a gradient which enters into the ocean. So if this is a land and this is the ocean, so land has a slanting into the ocean, into the water body. It is not like that the land is immediately ending here and then 10 kilometer of depth starts for the oceans. No, it is always gradual. So that gradual sloping boundary of the land into the ocean is known as continental shelf and continental slope areas. Now remember an important concept. Wherever the active convergence is going on, for example, in this case, the convergence is very active because the two plates are converging. Wherever the active convergence is going on, or I can say wherever you will find young fold mountains on the coast, the continental shelves will always be narrower. That is the reason the depth of water in this area will be less and the width will also be very less. So there will be a sudden downward movement. Here you will not get extensive continental shelf and slope areas. In this region, you might not get extensive bank areas. No, you will get extensive bank areas in the western coast of North America, because western coast of North America is not experiencing any type of convergence or tectonic movements. There is no tectonic interaction on the western coast of North America. The tectonic interaction is far away from North America into the central Atlantic Ocean. That is far away from the land. But here, this coast is experiencing active tectonic collision. Is it fine? So that is why here we have narrow continental shelf areas. Now moving ahead with the other mountain ranges. So here we are having Rocky Mountains. Then here again we have similar mountain ranges on the west coast, and it is also along. So when we talk about this name, just the name is different. Okay, the concept remains almost same. So because these mountains are on the coast, hence the name is the coast range. Okay. So one, we have the coast range. The northern section is known as the coast range and the southern section is known as the Cascade range, right? This one is the Cascade. Now near this point, there is in this area, there are few important peaks. If I have to write down, we need to understand that on the western coast, what we have till now, what we have understood, the tectonic collision is taking place. Tectonic collision is giving result to the young folded mountains. It is responsible for narrowed continental shelves. It is also responsible for, so this one was one, young folded mountains. Let's say this is second, narrow continental shelf. And the third outcome of this active collision is what? The active volcanoes. Okay. So when we are talking about the Rocky Mountains, there lie one of the most dominant active volcanoes. So there are very predominantly active volcanic peaks in the Rocky Mountains. And they are active volcanoes means that they are continuously erupting. They are not dormant, they are not extinct. They are important active volcanic peaks. For example, here we have Mount Rainier. Let's say this one. This is Mount Rainier. You have to remember the name of these peaks. Then we also have Mount Hood. Along with it, we also have Mount Shasta. These are important volcanic peaks. Along with it, there is one more important peak located somewhat here by the name Mount Whitney. Okay, but these three peaks are very important active volcanoes: Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Mount Shasta. Is it fine? Now just see your atlas and you will see the point where the Cascade Range is ending. Here we have another important mountain range which is named as Sierra Nevada. At this portion we have another important range. This range is named as Sierra Nevada. Very important for prelims examination also. When we talk about Sierra Nevada, the unique thing is that the Sierra Nevada is not in young fold mountains, despite the fact that they have almost overlapping territorial areas. Here we are having young folded mountains, but in the same location we have Sierra Nevada, and Sierra Nevada basically is the example of block mountains. The formation of block mountains is entirely different. The young fold mountains were formed because of tectonic collision. The block mountains are not because of tectonic collision. So block mountains are formed because of the processes like faulting, rifting, and reverse thrusting. I am not going into the details of these processes. What we need to understand that Sierra Nevada is a block mountain which is located at this place of North America. Is it fine? So we will remember this thing that Sierra Nevada is a block mountain. In the same region, we have two important plateaus. One is a Colombian plateau and one is a Colorado plateau. So if I draw this with green color, somewhat at this location and then at this location, we have important plateaus. So this one is Colombian plateau and this one is Colorado plateau. If you will see your atlas, you will identify a very important river also by the name Colorado River. So it is moving through the Colorado plateau. Okay, again if you will look at the atlas, you will identify that there is one other important region in this area which is known as Great Basin. Okay, and similarly at this point you will identify that there is a point written as Death Valley. Now Death Valley is famous because it is the lowest point of North America. It is the lowest point of North America. If we talk about McKinley, McKinley was the highest peak, highest point of North America, and Death Valley is the lowest point of North America. Is it fine? So all these are the important facts. Now further, if you will move south of this Colorado plateau, you will identify in the atlas at this particular point, which color should I use? At this particular point, you will identify the Mojave Desert. It is written as Mojave. I think this color is might not be properly visible. So this is Mojave, Mojave Desert. It is located in this area. Californian area has a lot of deserts. South of California, in this portion, you will be having Sonoran Desert in the Mexico region, and here there is another important mountain range, if you can see, in Mexico, right? And the language will tell you that it is not a proper English language. The name of this mountain range is Sierra Madre. Okay, so the tone of this language is telling you about the Central American accent and the Central American language. So that mountain range which is there in Mexico is Sierra Madre. And on the east of Sierra Madre, we have another plateau by the name of Mexican Plateau. So this is Mexican Plateau. Fine. Here we have Mexican Plateau. Till now, what have we understood? We have seen all the important ranges, mountain ranges, plateaus, peaks towards the western coast of North America. We have seen that this is active tectonic boundary. This active tectonic boundary has resulted into the outcomes such as formation of young folded mountains, narrow continental shelf areas. Third is active volcanoes and active volcanic peaks. Is it fine? Along with this, there is another important outcome, that is continuous earthquakes. Okay, so the west coast of North America also experienced continuous earthquakes. And because of the reason that in this region there is so many active volcanoes and earthquakes, we call this region as circum-Pacific belt also. Now, if you people are going through the mains previous year questions, you might be remembering a question which was asked in the sense, which was worded in the sense that describe the geophysical features over circum-Pacific belt. So these are the geophysical features of the circum-Pacific belt, because this is the region. So all the geophysical characteristics which will come, that is the subduction of the plate, formation of young fold mountains, for presence of narrow continental shelves, presence of active volcanoes, presence of high intensity earthquakes, all these are what? It is the geophysical characteristic of the circum-Pacific belt. So that means when we are doing maps such detail, it not only gives us the factual data, it also helps us to understand the concepts. It also gives us the example. So it is equally important for prelims as well as mains question. Fine. So this was all about the western coast, the physical features in terms of mountains, peaks, etc. related to the western coast. Now, two other important locations, three actually. Now come to the eastern coast of North America. In the eastern coast of North America, you will see a word written as Appalachians. Okay. So this is Appalachian Plateau and it is present in Canada as well as US. So this is Appalachian Plateaus. These Appalachian Plateaus are basically one of the oldest of the world. These are oldest plateaus or the oldest mountains. The origin goes back to the Precambrian period. This Appalachian Plateau has a lot of similarity with India's Gondwana Plateau. Okay, eastern plateau regions of India, in Chota Nagpur region, you have a lot of geological similarity between them and those rocks. Okay, not everything is, and I'm not saying identical. There are a lot of similarities in terms of resources. So Appalachian Plateau, the old plateau regions present anywhere in the world, are rich. They do have rich mineral as well as energy resources. When we are talking about this Appalachian Plateau, so Appalachian Plateau has a lot of presence of iron ore. It has limestone, then it has coal, petroleum, gas, bauxite, etc. So Appalachian Plateau is a rich source. Fine. Now come to this region. This region is known as Hudson Bay, but we will be doing water bodies in the next slide. Come to this region and here you will identify that a word is written here bordering this curved path. Here the word is written Canadian Shield. Now, what do we mean by Canadian Shield? What do we mean by shield? Shield is basically a geological term. And this shield term basically, that what is the role of shield in general? What do we mean by what is shield? Shield is which protect us. That is, there is something related to protected nature. When we talk about shield, it has something to do with protection. When we talk geologically, the shield areas are those areas which are protected from tectonic activities. So that means in this area there is no tectonic activity going on. So that means this region is tectonically stable. Fine. They are tectonically stable areas, and these are Canadian Shield. No earthquake comes over here, no volcano is there. So these are tectonically stable areas. That is why I said that we need to understand the western portion of the North America is tectonically active, but the eastern portion of North America is not tectonically active. And this Canadian Shield is it. The last important mountain ranges, and that too the volcanic origin, is present in this location, in these islands. Just locate on the map and you will see the Antilles over there. So greater Antilles, lower Antilles are present in this particular location. Is it clear to everyone? Right? There are some other minor concepts also. When we were talking about the Rocky Mountain ranges, okay, so there is important local wind which is present in Rocky Mountains. Can you name that wind? That local wind is named as Chinook. So I am labeling it here. In the Rocky Mountains, we have local winds by the name Chinook. Now, why this Chinook is important? From the prelims examinations perspective also, Chinook is very important, and it is also important as an example for mains answer. Chinook is a local wind. These local winds are also known as snow eaters. Why do we call them snow eaters? Let us understand this concept. We are saying that the mountain is present over here. Okay, so let us say if I draw this boundary again like this, let's say this is the western coast. Here we are having the mountains like this. Fine, these are the mountains. Let's assume that these are the Rocky Mountains. The wind is moving from Pacific Ocean in this direction towards the mountains. So can we identify now that when these winds will be striking this westward section of the Rocky Mountains, there will be huge rainfall because these winds are carrying a lot of moisture with them and they are just striking the Rocky Mountains from the western side. So that means this slope is towards the wind, which it is facing the wind, hence this is known as the windward side. So that means here the winds will rise, dew point will be reached, cloud formation will be there because of condensation, and on the western section you will be having a lot of rainfall. But when this wind, after shedding all of its moisture on the western part of the Rocky Mountains, after it the winds become dry and they will be moving towards the eastern part of Rockies, that is towards the eastern part, eastern slope of the Rockies. So from here when the winds will start moving in this direction and it will come to the Great Plain areas. In the atlas you will see that here we have Great Plain areas. Prairies is written. So prairies is what? Prairie is a temperate grasslands, right? So in this region when the winds will enter, they have already shed all of its moisture and hence this wind then becomes a dry wind. Fine. So Chinook is a dry, warm wind which is present in the leeward side, that is the opposite slope of Rocky Mountains, and they are warm winds. So these dry, warm winds, when enter into the valley, because of their high temperature, they melt the snow which is present in the valley, and that is why these Chinook winds are known as snow eaters. Is it clear to everyone? So these were the important concepts related, physical features and the associated concepts related to the North America. Fine. Now, when we talk about the physical features, obviously not only the land portion, that is mountain and peaks, are important, equally important is the water bodies. So now we will see the important water bodies which are present in and outside the North America. Okay. So again, we will start from the northern portion. So the northern portion we see here, we have Bering Sea. Very important sea. Here we have Beaufort Sea. Here we have a narrow water body connecting these two large water bodies, and that narrow water body which connects two large water body is known as strait. The name of this strait is Bering Strait. Fine. So here we have Bering Strait. So Bering Sea, Beaufort Sea and Bering Strait. After that, near this portion, we have the Gulf of Alaska. What do we mean by Gulf? Similarly, for example, here we are having Gulf of Mexico. A gulf is a water body which is surrounded from land from three directions. Here if you see that this is a water body sea which is surrounded by land from three directions, 1, 2 and 3. Similarly, here we have a curve. So three directions, 1, 2 and 3, and this portion is the Gulf. This is named as Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of Alaska. Fine. After that, if you move towards the Beaufort Sea and you come across another area, that is, this region is known as Hudson Bay. There is just a difference in terms of size of between bay and gulf. Otherwise, the concept remains same. That is, the water body surrounded by land from three sides is known as Hudson Bay. Similarly, in context of India, we have what? Bay of Bengal. So if you can imagine, if you can picturize that area into your mind, so Bay of Bengal is also surrounded by water body from land body from three directions. Towards west we have India, towards north we have India, and towards east we have Southeast Asia. Correct? If we go to this portion, this small island is basically the Baffin Island. Okay, this is Baffin Island, and here we are having Greenland. So Hudson Bay is an important water body in this particular location. After this, when we will see between Hudson Bay and Baffin Bay, again there is a small narrow water body by the name this one. So this is what? This is Hudson Strait. This is Hudson Strait. Is it fine? After Hudson Strait, we can see that is towards the southeast section of Baffin Bay. We have another important sea here, that is Labrador Sea. Again, very important. And here we are having Davis Strait. Very important strait, especially for prelims examination. And here we are having Labrador Sea. If you have certain basic understanding of the ocean currents, we have very important ocean current which moves in this direction. And this is basically a cold ocean current by the name of Labrador current. This Labrador current is a cold ocean current because the water is coming from high latitude areas, which means this cold ocean current will be bringing a lot of ice along with it. So that frozen ice in the form of icebergs come to the lower latitudes because of this cold water which is moving from high Arctic region towards this part. Okay, and on the contrary, in this section here we have another important ocean current, but this one now is a warm ocean current, and the name of this warm ocean current is Gulf Stream. These Gulf Stream and this Labrador current, they both meet at this specific location in the coastal areas. Now this location is very important. If you can see on your map, this is the location where you have areas like Grand Banks. What do we mean by banks? Banks are the extensive land areas which have shallow waters. So that means if you can correlate this with the concept, in the previous map we saw that because the western section is having tectonic activity, here the continental shelves are very narrow. They do not have width, they are not extensive. On the other hand, when we are seeing the continental shelves in these areas, they are very extensive, very broad, very wide. Okay, so those extensive continental shelf areas form extensive grand banks in this region. Here you can identify the other important areas also in the atlas. Here we have Newfoundland Island, Newfoundland. Fine. In this portion, this portion, this is known as, because this is also a gulf, this is a water body surrounded by land from three sides. So this water body is known as Gulf of Lawrence. The name is on the basis of a name of a river. So here you can see a river, Saint Lawrence. This is Gulf of Lawrence. The important thing is, when we are talking about this area, Grand Banks and Newfoundland Island, here you can see another important place, Halifax. Okay, so Halifax is there. In this portion, there is another important place which is Bay of Fundy. So the same location is having Bay of Fundy. Now Bay of Fundy is important because it experiences world's highest tidal ranges. What do we mean by tidal ranges? Tidal ranges is basically the difference between the high tide line and the low tide line. So this range is very huge, and this huge range is basically used to generate tidal energy. So Bay of Fundy is having the world's highest tidal range, the difference between high tide line and low tide line. Okay, coming back to the Grand Banks and Newfoundland Island. These Grand Banks are very important regions when it comes to fisheries. Why? This is the question. In these areas, as we have said, they are shallow water areas. So shallow water areas means the water is receiving adequate sunlight, because if the water would be deep, then sunlight will not be able to penetrate deep into the oceans, deep into the water bodies. If they are shallow areas, that means all the life forms which are there can receive sunlight, and that is why more life forms will be there. So this is one reason that why fishes are there. Second important reason is the cold current. Whenever come, cold current brings a lot of nutrients with it. So in this region, a lot of nutrients are present. Third, those nutrients invite a lot of phytoplanktons and hence the presence of fishes. Is it fine? Fourth, all the regions where there is intermixing of cold ocean current and warm ocean current. So here you get relatively moderate conditions, moderate climatic conditions. The conditions are not at extreme, that is not too cold or not too warm, not too hot. So there are moderate conditions which are suitable for fisheries. Is it fine? So that is why we have a lot of fisheries in this region. So there, the question has already been asked in the mains examination that what is the role of ocean currents in terms of fisheries and navigation, etc. So this is the economic importance of the ocean currents as well as ecological importance of the ocean currents. Is it okay? Now come to this portion. Here we are having Gulf of Mexico. The question in mains was asked that why do tropical cyclones form majorly in South China Sea, Bay of Bengal and Gulf of Mexico region? So this is the same area where you get a lot of tropical cyclone formation. Here you have tropical cyclones. Why you have tropical cyclones? Because tropical cyclones require certain preconditions. Which are the preconditions? The first precondition is that there should be high sea surface temperature. If tropical cyclones are requiring high sea surface temperature, and here we are saying that this is the region where you are having warm ocean current, which is supplying warmness to the region. So this is the area where the sea surface temperature goes beyond 28, 29, 30, 32 degrees Celsius. This is warm water. So this is the first thing. The second thing is, this water you can see is relatively enclosed also. So the enclosed nature of Gulf of Mexico basically further induce warmness, because the land which is bordering the Gulf of Mexico is in tropical area. The land is hot. If the land is hot, so water which is present in the vicinity of the land will also be relatively hotter. If it is hotter, that means there the enclosed nature has led to reduction of the pressure. So there is a low pressure region, which is a second condition required for the formation of tropical cyclones. It has to be a pre-existing low pressure. The sea surface temperature has to be very high. The third important condition which is required for a tropical cyclone formation is basically the presence of abundant amount of moisture. So because we are talking about the Gulf of Mexico, which is a ocean body, enclosed sea area, it is supplying a lot of moisture to the tropical cyclones. This is the reason that why you get a lot of tropical cyclone formation in the Gulf of Mexico. Is it fine? The south of Gulf of Mexico lies the Yucatan Channel. Okay. Here, this portion. Here you have Yucatan Channel, because this area is known as Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, so here you have Yucatan Channel. Here you have Gulf of Panama. Fine. So this is Gulf of Panama. So these are the important areas which are lying outside the North America. Similarly, this region basically is the Gulf of California, because this section is known as Californian Peninsula. So hence, on the same basis of same name, here we have Gulf of California. These are the important water bodies which are surrounding the North America. Now let us move into the North America. There are few important lakes which are there in Canada as well as the North America. So which are those lakes? We need to remember the names of those lakes. So starting from the north, that is from Canada, first we have Great Bear Lake, then Great Slave. Here we have Lake Great Bear. Then we have Lake Great Slave. Then we have Lake Athabasca. All the names of these lakes are important. That is why I am telling them in the class. So you have to memorize all the names. After Athabasca, in the Canada itself, we have another important lake here by the name Lake Reindeer. Keep on seeing the name of these lakes in atlas along with it. Atlas has to be seen every time when you are drawing the map. Okay. Now come to the boundary, that is the border region of Canada and US in your atlas, and you can see that there are few important lakes, especially the 5 lakes. It starts with the westernmost lake. It starts with Lake Winnipeg. It lies in Canada. So somewhat this is the shape. So here we have Lake Winnipeg. After Winnipeg, then there are several lakes located in the vicinity. So some of the important lakes in this region is Lake Winnipeg, then we have Lake Superior, then we have Lake Erie, we have Huron, we have Ontario. Okay, so after Lake Winnipeg, we have Lake Superior. This one, we have Superior. After Lake Superior, you can see in your atlas, after Lake Superior, we have another important lake, Michigan, Huron, and Erie. So here we have Michigan, then we have Huron, then we have Erie. After Huron and Erie, towards the easternmost section, we have another important lake, that is Lake Ontario. Now, why these lakes are important? They have given a very unique advantage to US, because US has developed all these lakes. All these lakes are interlinked with the help of canals, which has in turn led to the development of extensive inland waterways. In India, we are still trying to develop these waterways. So a lot of, because these inland waterways are cheaper also, they are greener also. They reduce the load on other modes of transportation like road, air, rail. Fine. And what happens is that all these lakes are connected with each other. So the transit route is what? It starts from this lake, and the cargoes, the large vessels and ships can just with the help of these lakes also, they can go from Michigan to Superior to Michigan, Winnipeg to Superior to Michigan to Huron to Erie to Ontario. After Ontario, we have seen that here we have Gulf Lawrence, which again is a water body. So it will enter into the Gulf of Lawrence. From this Gulf of Lawrence, it will enter into the Atlantic Ocean. And from this Atlantic Ocean, it will move towards Europe. In Europe, we are having important countries in this location like United Kingdoms, France, Germany, which means a lot of maritime trade takes place between North America, especially US, and the European countries. And that is why this North Atlantic trade route, it is named as North Atlantic trade route. This route is the busiest maritime route. This is the busiest maritime trade route because obviously most of the trade is taking place between US and the European countries. Is it fine? Along with these lakes, we also need to understand that here lies Great Plains also. Okay, these Great Plains are having prairies, grasslands. Now, what do we mean by prairies, grasslands? Prairies, grasslands are basically the temperate areas. They are temperate grasslands. What are they famous for? These temperate grasslands are famous for wheat. In North America, if we have to see, two types of wheat is grown. One is a summer wheat and one is a winter wheat. In US, mainly the winter wheat grows. In Canada, mainly the summer wheat grows. In India also, we grow winter wheat. We grow wheat during winters. That is why we say that wheat is a rabi crop. So if we are talking about the resources of North America, it is very important to understand that, for example, in the last slide, we saw that in the Appalachian region, we were having important resources like iron ore, limestone, coal, petroleum, gas, bauxite. Similarly, if we have to talk about the other resources here, so this region is having a lot of wheat. This region, that is this US region, is very famous for other crops. Other crops like here, if I have to write other crops which are grown in these areas, it is maize, it is cotton, right? The US also grows barley. Then the Californian section, this section is also important for citrus fruits. Here in this portion, if you can locate a place, Nova Scotia, that place is also important for citrus fruits. This is also important for fisheries. So fisheries are also resources. Phytoplanktons are also resources. If we are talking about these lake bodies, so these are what water resources. North America is endowed with a lot of water resources because the northern section is frozen. So the melting of this frozen part will lead to a lot of water resources, right? This region is also famous for tar sand, right? The region is also famous for shale gas, crude oil and petroleum. So we have already seen. So these are the important areas when we talk about the resources and the water bodies. Okay, here if you can see near the Great Plains, if you remember that we did Colorado Plateau in the previous slide, here we have done the Colorado Plateau is there. So I told that there is important river, Colorado River, which is flowing like this. On this Colorado River, we have a very important dam by the name of Hoover Dam. The reservoir of this Hoover Dam is named as Lake Mead. That is the reservoir. This Colorado River forms Grand Canyon. Canyon are what? Canyons are vertical deep valleys. So largest canyon of the world is formed by this river Colorado over here. The deepest gorge is formed by river Kali at India-Nepal border. This here we have Grand Canyon, which is because of river Colorado. Similarly, another important river which is in this part and is draining into Gulf of Mexico is river Mississippi. So this is also a very important river which drains its water into Gulf of Mexico, right? So these were some of the important areas which I wanted to discuss. The prairies, grassland, the temperate grasslands, they are known basically as, because they are growing a lot of wheat, so they are known as the granaries of the world. Fine. Temperate grasslands are granaries of the world. So these are some of the important features, that is important water bodies, important resources, important mountains, peaks, etc. we have discussed. If you have to see into the US, the important cities, you can see that on the eastern coast of US, because this region was more close to Europe, and the thing goes back to the colonization phase. So when the Europe was this US was also colonized by European powers, and a lot of trade took place between Europe and US. So obviously the first developmental phase was experienced on the eastern coast of US. That is the reason that why you are having so many well-known countries on the eastern coast of US. Just locate, just see the political map. You will be having New Jersey here, Washington DC, New York, New Hampshire. All the important cities are on the eastern coast of North America. On the western coast of North America, on the western coast of US, you will see important cities like San Francisco. Okay, so San Francisco is there. Washington is here. Washington DC, the capital, is on east coast. Without DC, there is another Washington, which is on the west coast of North America. Okay, the Silicon Valley is on the west coast of North America. But other important cities, which are the most famous cities, are on the eastern coast. Is it fine? So again, these were the important things which were relevant for the UPSC exam from the North America, and I wanted to take it. So these lectures will be detailed lectures because we are doing a lot of features, a lot of concepts, a lot of facts related to all the continents, and that is why the videos will be slightly longer. But I am very sure that if you are attending these series along with the atlas, because atlas has to be done, so just open the atlas, keep listening and seeing the video and audio, and then keep on locating the same areas in your atlas. That is more than sufficient to go for the physical features of the world map. Okay, so that is all from my side. Next lecture will be of South America. Thank you, everyone.